readers,
reviewers,
spooky countrymen,
lend us your ears. And a huge thank you to all of our Patreons.
Thank you to the Pit Fighters, the First Swords, and all of the Bright Stars, Truth and Courage.
Hello and welcome to the channel. Hopefully we don't have some spooky countrymen watching this video, but of course it's October. It is the month of horrors, so we do need to say straight away we're going to be a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah.
Because we haven't got horror reads on this list, because I'm going back to uni. You'll see most of these reads are compulsory for uni and some other events that we'll be talking about.
I do have one that's kind of horror because there's a lot of blood.
Oh,
and it's yeah,
a bit of a caveat. Exactly. But if I do have spare time, because I've kind of cut down on the list, then I will be adding some spooky reads. I will try some Joe Hill, some Stephen King. So yeah.
Actually, I will be definitely reading a horror, which I will tell you about.
Ed,
in a minute.
You've got us on a roller coaster.
Sorry, I'm
here.
so sorry.
See?
But October is going to be a wicked month. So we have a read-along going on. We also have some really exciting events that we're going to with Papa Gwyn.
Yeah.
He is doing a Waterstones book tour in England, where he is going to
Bath on the 23rd
of October,
Leeds on the 24th
of October,
London and so London, Piccadilly, Waterstones, and also Comic Con
in
London on the 25th of October, and then the 7th
of November
in Brighton. So I'll be at the Leeds event, and I am moderating the chat between RJ Barker and Papa Gwyn. So that leads me on to the first book.
Unfortunately, I will not be at Leeds because I have been grounded. But we both will be there in November,
London,
in Brighton. Yeah, in London as well. We're not moderating that one, unfortunately. No. But in November at Brighton, we will be moderating that chat as well, which will be really, really exciting.
So the brothers Gwyn will be at two of the events. One brother will be at Leeds, and then none at Bath. But Mark Lawrence and Papa Gwyn will be there. So let's start off with
our read-along. What is our read-along of the month?
It is, of course, The Hunger of the Gods by Papa Gwyn. If you've been following the channel, you know we've got a read-along of The Bloodsworn going on. We've not stopped talking about it.
Papa Gwyn just because Papa Gwyn. We call him that because he is our dad.
We do need to start saying that more, because so many people
does sound like we're just calling him like Daddy Gwyn, which is a bit strange, isn't it?
Yeah, so we are his sons.
Yes.
Anyway, Hunger of the Gods, Book 2 of the Bloodsworn Saga. It has been awesome seeing people's reactions to the Shadow of the Gods on the read-along, on the Discord. I think probably maybe 50, 60 people have been commenting, and hopefully there's a lot more lurking in the shadows, kind of looking at what's being said. It is just amazing. We are so proud of Papa Gwyn for this series, and it's awesome to see the love that's being shared by so many people. And if you don't like it, we don't want to hear. Of course, just joking. We accept all opinions.
No, we don't.
It's negative about the Bloodsworn.
Yeah, we don't like.
See, I feel like I'm jumping between like Gollum and Smeagol. Like, yes, we don't want to hear, but
you're
we
accepted,
should.
But we will kill you. But it's
but
fine.
You're open to say it.
Yeah, you can say it, but there will be a headhunt. That's fine.
Anyway, so of course, what follows a book 1? Book 2. So we'll be reading Hunger of the Gods in October. And we will be cheating slightly. So the read-along book for November is The Fury of the Gods, but it is being published on the 24th of October.
22nd, isn't it?
24th, I was going to say UK.
Sorry.
And 22nd in the US. So we will actually be starting that read-along a week early. So if you want your copies ready of Fury of the Gods for the last week of October,
people have got starting early, of it and they've read it already.
I know,
on the Discord, and people are unhappy. But
they jealousy.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway,
very jealous.
Now on to the next. Ed, I think you've got a few more books than me, so why don't you talk about yours first?
So I'm sick of having started so many series that are now unread, and it genuinely has sickened me. I've been really unwell the last few decades, and I've got to carry on the Farseer. So we recently spoke with Chris and Mads over at Chris and Mads, and they were such a blast. It was so much fun to chat with them. But they said that I definitely need to carry on with the Farseer and get to Live Ships. And I would love to read Live Ships before you do. I think that would be a really good kind of story. My winter arc for the channel is to beat you to Live Ships.
So you're being inspired to read by competitiveness.
Yes, which actually I don't think
is a bad
thing.
If I can help you read more, that's okay.
That's okay. One day you'll read the same amount of books as me. It's absolutely fine. But Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb, I'm sure it's going to be full of pleasantries, full of really short sentences that doesn't describe too much, and I'm sure that there aren't going to be any animals in this series.
Well, it doesn't describe too much, for sure. Well, it describes the perfect
amount. I completely agree. I love Robin Hobb's prose. I've only read Assassin's Apprentice, but what I did read was absolutely wonderful. I actually read it twice, and I just haven't continued the series because I'm a Wally, and I'll admit it. I'll happily admit it. I'm stupid like that. But I'm going to rectify my mistakes, and I'm going to read the Farseer, and I'm going to become someone who reads a full series together, or maybe at least like one a month.
It just takes a bit of discipline.
It does, and I have been lacking discipline.
But this is my favourite of the series, so hopefully you'll love it. And it introduces one of my favourite characters of all time. People often... very funny. He always jokes he's going to read the last page to me. A lot of people say that Storm and Night Eyes are their favourite animal companions in fantasy. Well, you may be meeting one of them.
I think Storm would eat Night Eyes. Okay?
Maybe.
No, they'd be friends.
No, not everything is in the martial prowess, you know?
Sorry, I'm just in that frame of mind. It does say assassin on there, so I presume there's going to be some sort of violence. Or unless
will Sadie maybe be reading this as well?
Not in October, but I think she will at some point because she loved Assassin's Apprentice. But
nice.
I will be reading a book with Sadie, which I'll be talking about in a minute.
A little bit later on. And then next up, I've got the Cambridge Old English Reader.
Mm-hmm.
Which may not hook as many people as Royal Assassin, and I understand that. But this is a text that I have to read for university.
I've heard the plot is insane. The character work is like David Gemmell.
It's like the Highway Code. I thought it started really strong, but the descriptions got a bit much, and it was a bit repetitive.
Yeah,
but
it's to be fair, the Highway Code is a long and winding road.
Very nice, thank you. Very nice. But so, of course, reading this for uni, I am actually going to be learning Old English, which I'm not very proficient linguistically. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be a challenge. But I feel very passionate
enough for you to speak
English.
New English.
Yeah. Yeah, alone Old English.
Young English.
I know. But it's crazy.
I'm sure Dr. Fantasy, Old English,
might be able to help
Philip
me.
Chase himself could give you
I
some
may
top
be
tips.
pestering him a bit for advice and help over the year to come. So, Philip, you've got that to look forward to.
You're just going to watch Jackson Crawford's channel.
Just again and again and again. But yeah, so the Old English Reader, it's on my list.
Very nice, lovely. And the next one for me is the first horror book of October, and it will be A Court of Thorns and Roses. And I'm joking, not horror. I'm sure it's lovely.
It is red and black.
It is, and this is actually from Will's book set, which you have, isn't it?
I do.
I don't know, just makes you laugh. But I will be reading this with Sadie. I'll probably be listening to it. Sadie is getting through the series. She's actually at the end now. She absolutely loved it. And I saw Tutor Ramble actually did a chat about this as well. So I think I'm going to give it a go for Sadie. Yeah, I think so.
It is interesting seeing, and I know a big topic lately is romanticy, and how a lot of kind of epic fantasy readers are worried because of Fourth Wing and this series taking so many readers. But I think we got to look at it more positively. On the flip side, I have quite a few friends I know have picked up this series, their first ever fantasy, and they've enjoyed it so much they've picked up more of the fantasy that we read. Yeah. Because it's kind of shown there's still a lot of snobbery about fantasy and it's hard for people to get started. Yeah. And this, I think, it is getting new readers to the genre.
If it gets someone to read something, it doesn't, that's great.
It's always a good thing. I mean,
Sadie went from reading this and she wanted to then pick up Robin Hobb. So
exactly.
And you don't have...
Exhibit A.
If you like romance, it doesn't mean that you won't like any other fantasy, does it? But no, I'm excited to see what it's like. I'm excited to read a book with Sadie as well. She's been listening to it too. And we'll have a chat, and we might do like a mini review / chat on the channel in the future. But no, I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be really good, and I'm excited to see all of the different courts because I mean it feels autumnal, doesn't it? So I think it's good to read in October.
Does one of the covers have like an orange?
The one Sadie's reading is orange, even though it's called A Court of Silver something.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, that's why.
Very interesting.
But yeah.
Next up, returning to the uni reads. It is painful leaving so many of the TBR behind. But last year, quite a few books I was kind of forced to read, I actually loved, and they're new favourites of mine. So I'm going into this...
Unlike this year.
Optimistic. And I have Adam Bede, which I'm actually reading and listening to this at the same time.
Yeah, I saw it on Audible.
Yeah, because...
it's very, it's enjoyable when you listen.
The beginning really worried me. So I thought, you know what, I need to concentrate. So having them both at the same time, that immersive experience, it's making me hone in. And I don't think I'm going to enjoy this as much as David Copperfield, sadly. It's, of course, by George Eliot. And so I might as well talk about the other George Eliot book I'm reading, Middlemarch. So I have higher hopes for this. It's George Eliot's most known work. I think this is considered her magnum opus.
I'm eagerly anticipating Ohio Ed's comment on the video because she's basically read everything.
Yeah.
One of our
I
pages.
don't know how.
And she always gives such great comments, and she usually says, that book that you're about to read will suck. And it always makes you laugh. So
It's just
Ohio
this
Ed,
impending doom.
shout out to you, and I'm looking forward to your comment on this video.
So am I. But yeah, so that's 2 books by George Eliot on the uni reading list. And now, flipping it back to you, Ed.
Thank you. I shall be reading Bloody Rose by Nicholas Ames. 2 different ways of saying the name. And that rhymed as well. Nicholas Ames has written Kings of the Wild, which I absolutely loved. It was in our favourite fantasy video. And I don't think I sold it as well as I could have because I just kind of mentioned the erection mushrooms, which probably...
You got fixated, we can say.
That's strange.
But you know what? It is an incredible chapter, and it does summarise a lot of what Kings of the Wild is about. Because it is very random, it's entertaining, but I don't think you mentioned the heart. Which we can do that now.
The beating
heart.
Oh, okay, sorry. I'm very looking forward to
This
Bloody
is not
Rose.
what people have come
This
in
is
for.
book 2, and they are both standalones, but this book is obviously the sequel, but it follows the daughter of one of the characters in the first book, and it's following her adventure, which is very exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. I think the universal kind of opinion is doesn't quite hit the heights of Kings of the Wild, but it's still a great fantasy read. And it's a high fantasy, which is really what I'm in the mood for at the moment. So I think it's going to fit pretty well with my TBR.
I'll
go on to the next one as well, because you did too.
Yeah.
And I shall be reading Storm Rider. So I know that I said in this video I'm going to be finishing series, and this is book 4 of the Regante. I read Ravenheart last month, and I never expected to love it as much as I did, because I've always heard the first 2 Regante books are stronger than the latter 2.
Yeah.
I think Ravenheart's my favourite Gemmell book ever.
Do you know, I love it when there's a bit of like a controversial opinion, but in a positive way.
Yes.
I'm
Jane
liking this.
Grimmock is just one of my favourite characters I've ever read, and Ravenheart was the perfect sequel to those 2 great books, because I think it's a great idea that David Gemmell basically did 2 duologies in the same world, 800 years apart, because you can't follow up Sword and Storm and Midnight Falcon.
No.
But then completely switching it. Now this series is essentially the history of, let's say, Rob Roy. So it's that kind of that Scottish independence versus England, the Jacobite Revolution, I believe, was going on as well. But it's following the Regante 800 years after the first 2 books. So it is absolutely wonderful. And Storm Rider, what a name, is, I'm sure, going to be a wonderful ending to the series. I read a review on Goodreads earlier that said this is the best ending to a Gemmell book ever. And the last 3 endings have had me in tears. David Gemmell just strikes a chord within me. He was a masterful guitar player, we'll say that.
And if I ever recommend any David Gemmell, I always go straight to Regante. I've read 11 books by him now, and this is what I would say.
Regante are amongst the strongest books in fantasy, in my opinion, and no one can write heroes like David Gemmell.
There we go. And now on to me more for the uni. Oh, actually, no, it's not. Done with the uni. I've left space for 1 or 2 more reads because I've not had the order of my lecture list yet released, so there may be a few others to add. But next up, I've got a
just read the synopsis. It's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Watching YouTube
just
videos.
pretend I've watched it when I'm in a seminar and they're asking me specific questions on it.
You should try that.
But next up, I've got, I don't know if it's a novella or a short story, I've got Beware Darkness Calls by Mike Shackle. This is part of the Witchfinder Chronicles.
Yeah, nice.
So Mike Shackle is one of my favourite authors of all time, and that is just purely off his trilogy, the Last War trilogy, which starts with We Are the Dead. It is mind-blowing, incredible, just perfect fantasy in my opinion. I love how it's unique, but it harkens to so much that I love. So, and I love his writing style, so I'm fascinated by what he's doing now. And he's kind of releasing, I think it's 1 a month of the Witchfinder Chronicles. And I think maybe 3 are out, and it begins with Beware Darkness Calls. And it's got quite a dark, gritty vibe, and I think there's a bit of like a Sherlock Holmesian core to it as well. And so I really like that kind of mix of inspirations, you know? So I'm looking forward to diving in, and it's one that has been on my TBR, and it's perfect to fit this in among a lot of uni reads because it won't take up too much time, but it's a nice palate cleanser.
Very nice. The next one for me is God Killer by Hannah Kaner, which I believe Will has actually read.
I have read.
I think I'll be listening and reading to this, so kind of that immersive experience like you were mentioning. But I don't really know anything about it apart from I love deers, stags, wicked, and it's on the front cover. And also God Killer is like a really cool title. It reminds me of kind of the new Rob J. Hayes
God
series,
Eater,
like God Eater. So putting God in front of like a any verb is really cool. Like maybe not God Scrubber, that wouldn't work very well.
Although I would be intrigued.
God Cleaner.
I'd be intrigued, but it's not going to hit home like God Killer.
Not quite as cool as God Killer or God Eater. But I mean, this is one of a more recent fantasy popular book, isn't it, which has been released. But I don't really see much of it on BookTube. Maybe I just haven't been watching the right videos. I don't know. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing what it's like, and I don't really know anything about it.
I do really love the premise, and I love you've got a bit of like, a group coming together, characters got very different ambitions, hidden pasts, but events tie them together. I really enjoy how that's done. I thought there's a few pacing issues, but it ended really strong. And it started really strong, and I will definitely be reading book 2 at some point.
Very nice. Yeah, maybe we could do a buddy read of that in the future if I really enjoy that, which I'm sure I will. And another one for me is I'm going to be reading Empire of Silence by Christy Rocchio. I actually will be reading it this time. I meant to read it a few months ago, but the Patreons have spoken.
They've had their say.
They've told me I have to read Empire of Silence. So that'll be really, really cool. I've heard amazing things about it. I'm getting serious FOMO. Everyone talks about Demon and White like it is as good as a roast dinner. Roast beef. So, yeah.
Edge is not books over. Sacrilege.
Why do you have to stop me in every time?
It's always you. It's always you, Ed.
Edit it out. It's always you. That's fine. I am sure I'm going to absolutely love Empire of Silence. Now I'm just going to quickly excuse me while I pick up these books.
Just a quick word on our Patreon. Just as Ed said, they voted for Empire of Silence. So once a month, the patrons vote for a read that one of us will pick up. So it'll be Ed one month, me the next. Then also lately, Ed, you shared a short story you've done on there. So we're kind of mixing it up on the Patreon, adding some more things. And you actually have quite a wide catalogue of short stories you've written.
I do.
So there'll be more of your
Most
writing.
Most of them aren't readable. But the one I put on our Patreon was one that I think is probably in the best shape at the moment. So yeah, no, that was cool, and I really appreciate seeing like people's feedback as well and seeing what they say about it. So yeah, it's cool.
There we go. So if you're intrigued, you can check out the Patreon link below. But now on to the last book that I intend to read in October. It is Gods of the Weird Wood by R.J. Barker, book 1 of the Forsaken, I believe, trilogy. And so I will be, as I said earlier, at the Leeds Waterstones event with Papa Gwyn and R.J. Barker.
Oh, I'll be at Leeds.
I have the honour of moderating it, which is just an incredible opportunity. And so, of course, I will be reading Gods of the Weirdwood. I've read the Tired Child trilogy, which I thought was really solid. I really enjoyed the main character, and it's just very different fantasy. I love when an author goes in a fresh direction. So I really enjoyed that, but I'm going to be reading his more recent works. Fresh water, nice.
Don't be so.
And so I'm looking forward to kind of garnering some questions for Papa Gwyn and R.J. Barker in Leeds. And there will be a link to Papa Gwyn's interviews in the description below if you want to get a ticket and see Papa Gwyn or us or both. So there we go. That's my last book on the TBR for October. And now on to your last.
And the last one for me is another one of the Dungeon Crawler series. Nice. And it's book 3, which is the Dungeon Anarchist's Cookbook by Matt Dinnerman. I loved book 1. I thought book 2 was a really solid entry, and I think book 3 is going to be absolutely brilliant. People do say they get better as they go along, so I'm really excited to see how Princess Donut is faring. Because I'm not really a cat person, but I do find that I'm missing.
I agree.
I'm missing her presence in my ears.
Very nice.
I have been listening to this series. Jeff Hayes does a fantastic job of the audio. You enjoyed the audio well, didn't you? So and do we have a review of Dungeon Crawler Carl out on the channel when this video is going out, or will it be after?
It will be after.
So it will be after. We have recorded it, but as will be at uni soon, we're trying to kind of stock up some videos to release while he's away, and hopefully we'll hit 10k soon. We can do a live stream, and we'll do more online chats as well. So we do have a chat coming up soon, don't we, with Philip and a host of other cool booktubers.
Yes, we do.
So that'd be exciting, but we'll probably mention that in our November TBR video because that will be taking place in November. So just a quick tease for you.
A little teaser. Exactly. But there we go. That's the books that we intend to read in the month of October. Let us know if you've read any of these. Looking forward to your comment at Higher Ed. And let us know what some of your TBR books for this month will be. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Happy reading. Truth and courage.
Good luck in spooky season. Truth and courage.
The brothers Gwyn.